The Carl Nelson Show.
So waking up with us again on this hump day. Later, naturopathic doctor Stephen Tates will be here to explain how sleep deprivation can trigger several health issues. Dr. Tate claims a lack of sleep can cause the breakdown of the immune system. It can cause hypertension, diabetes, kidney problems, and more. Before we hear from Dr. Tates, Mama Ade will tell us how she uses drama therapy and theater to achieve therapeutic goals to develop healing relationships. Also on the docket, the NAACP's Maryland State Conference Chairman, Willie Flowers, and also the Faith Brothers. So let's say it started and let's say good morning to and hotep to Mama Ade. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yes, it is.
Yes. Yes. My full name is Ade Olomo, so everybody just calls me Mama Ade.
Okay, great. Give us, because it's your first time on the program, give us a little bit of your background.
Oh, my. Where do I begin? I am a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a great-grandmother. I have 19 grandchildren. I have 23 great-grandchildren. I am an educator, a theater director. I teach drumming. I teach many different things throughout the community. I'm a woman's advocate. I advocate for women and children in the community. And I'm just a little black girl from East 89th Street.
All right. Well, that's enough. And that's a blessing with all those children that you have, in your family. That is truly a blessing to carry on your legacy. But you use, I understand that you use, you use drama and therapy, drama therapy, I should say, and theater to achieve therapeutic goals to develop healing relationships. Can you tell us how you achieve that?
Well, let's see. I often say one of the first things that God did is to create, and to be a creative person. In the arts, period. It's that divine energy that flows through all of we. And so how do you best use that? We use the arts to build community. We use the arts to build relationships, loving relationships between one another. We use the arts to illuminate and to bring people closer together, to garner understanding. So those aspects of being able to, as we say in theater, hold the mirror up to society is a blessing to be able to do. We use those tools that dance and theater and that whole creative energy to help people better understand themselves. So that's the work that's how I use theater, not just to entertain, but to help people to better understand themselves. Once you do that, then you can better understand your relation to others. So I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. You did. And that's correct what you just said as well. 5 after the top of the hour. Having said that, though, the movie, The Woman King, has caused all kind of, controversy in our community. Some people don't like it. Some people like it. Is there any lessons to be learned from not just the movie itself, but from the discussions that triggered by the movie?
Yeah, certainly. So many. I saw the movie several times. I absolutely love the movie. Just on a basic level, the work that those women did, just the physical work that they did. That alone, because when I get up in the morning, my knees get to creaking. Just watching the battle scenes, intergenerationally, these women, the acting that was done, because that's an investment. When you have to portray something that is so, I don't know what the word is, but so integral to who you are, that you have to, your muscles in your stomach tighten and your tears flow. That's an investment, a personal investment, a spiritual investment that you have to make as a performer to portray all of these emotions and this energy. And so to watch Viola Davis, I was just sitting on the edge of my seat to watch those young people, those women, and the energy that you have to have in order to do just the fight scenes, the energy, the relationships between the women in that community. It was awe-inspiring. It helped me to understand that some of the things that we try to teach our young women as you step out into society. You are powerful beyond your imagination. You are worthy. You are enough. And you know, I have a family full of warrior women. We fight in different ways. So we fight. We're on the front lines as educators. We're on the front lines as directors. We're on the front lines as you know, people who try to teach and try to help build community through the arts. So I loved the movie. I know how much energy it takes to do something of that magnitude. And so I really, really enjoyed it.
All right. 8 after the top there. Mama Ade, why do you think so many people disagree with you, though? Why they didn't like it? How come they didn't see what you saw?
I have no idea what people think or how they think. You know, everybody has an opinion. Everybody is welcome to their own opinion. But I've been to Benin. You know, I know the warrior women in my family. So I think that the notion of having a female king, because we have been colonized and we think of a king in terms of European understanding. So people they brisk at the notion of there being a female king because they think that the king is a male designation, and in African society it is not. It is a title, and it is a responsibility. Mm-hmm.
You know, you use this to help relationships. What can we glean from the Woman King? 'Cause, you know, so many of us just see it for entertainment purposes, but I'm guessing that you probably looked a little deeper and found something else that many of us probably who saw the movie didn't see.
That you live your spiritual life. That it's not something that you put on like a suit of clothes on Sunday, and then the rest of the week you go about doing whatever. The culture, you live the culture every day. It's a part of your being. It's a part of who you are. You're this whole spiritual aspect of those women, and that this is how they are. This is their morality. This is their character. All of that becomes very, very important, and it becomes a part of your everyday makeup. It is not something you wear like a suit of clothes. That's what I gleaned from the movie. Um, there's so much to be gained from that movie, but just that notion itself, that this is part and parcel of who you are on an everyday basis.
All right, folks, just waking up 11 after the top of the hour with our guest. She's an educator. Mama Ade is her name, 800-450-7876 if you'd like to speak to her. Mama Ade, you know what I found out too? Many of the detractors of the movie have never seen the movie and say they're not going to see it. And they're trying to convince everybody else not to see it. I just couldn't understand how could you equate that, telling people not to see it, I'm not going to see it and I don't like the movie, but yet you haven't seen it. Can you respond to that?
You know, it's what is in the atmosphere today. You form opinions based off of what somebody else said or something that somebody else said, rather than investigating yourself. I've never, well, let me not say never, but I don't particularly care to do that. Even when someone gives me their opinion of someone because based on their experience or whatever, I need to see for myself what that person's character is and form my own opinion. So that kind of thinking is what they call being a sheep, you know, just following blindly behind what somebody else said or somebody else's opinion. I need to investigate for myself and see. And so that's why I didn't listen to those detractors. I went to see because I wanted to see Viola Davis. I wanted to see the movie. I wanted to see their take on it. And I love the fact that movies are being made telling our stories. And if Viola Davis signed on to this, I wanted to see it. I saw her rendition as she did Ma Rainey. Of course, that got various opinions on Ma Rainey and her portrayal of that. I saw her in the other movie about the maids, but I wanted to see it for myself and form my own opinion.
You know, and that's interesting that you would say that because so many of in our community, we don't think for ourselves. You know, we keep telling people to free your mind. We don't think for yourselves. Mm-hmm. They think on what somebody else tells them, and they're afraid to tell that person, well, I'm going to see it, even though that's you're my boy, you're my girl, I like you and all of it. But I want to see it and come up with my own opinion. And usually when they do, their opinion is counter to what their friend or the person they quote unquote respect has told them what to do. How do we move those people out of that bubble, Mama Ade? What can we tell them to, you know, because I say it all the time, you know, free your mind, think for yourself, but you know, not all of them do that. So how do we make that move how do we get them to make that move?
Education. And that doesn't necessarily mean sitting in a classroom, but that means people like myself working with intergenerational. I'm working with a group of women, an intergenerational Sheroes group, and Sheroes was formed by the Teaching Artists Institute and Kim Poole. And so we established a Cleveland chapter of the Sheroes organization. And our group of women is intergenerational. Our youngest is 8 years old, and our oldest is 94. 94. And her name is Mom Daphne. We call her Mom Daphne. And she would climb the stairs because in the building where we started, the elevator was broken, and she has to climb 2 flights of stairs, and she's on a walker. But she made the climb each and every Sunday. And when we had everyone introduce themselves and talk about who they are, Mom Daphne said she was here because she just wanted to learn.
Wow.
Now,
Amazing. Hold that
having
story
that
right there, Mama
conversation,
Ade. I'll let you pick it
yeah,
up. We got to take a short break here and check the traffic
okay.
and weather in our cities. Folks are going to work and going to school on this hump day. Folks, you want to join this conversation with Mama Ade, reach out to us. Our telephone number is toll free. It's also worldwide. It's 800-450-7876. It's 15 after the hour. We'll take your calls in 4 minutes right here on 1010. WOLB in Baltimore. In the DMV, we're on FM 95.9 and AM 1450. WOL, where information is power. And good morning, family. 22 minutes after the top of the hour with our guest, Mama Ade. You want to speak to her? 800-450-7876. Got somebody I want to speak to her already. I've got a couple of tweets for Mama Ade. But Mama Ade, I want you to finish your story and tell us about the elder.
Yes, Mom Daphne. And I was talking about how she would climb these stairs and come to the She Rose sessions. And as she was introducing herself, she said, "I'm here because I just want to learn." And for her to make that statement at 94 years young really opened my eyes and inspired me. So when I talk about education, it's that spark, that notion of continually wanting to learn and to grow, because you do that until the day you leave this planet. And for her to realize that and want to still be inspired, you would think that at 94, she would say, "Well, I've been there, I've done all of that, and I know." And that's not her stance at all. It's, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to, and I would think that that's part of how she got to be 94. That spiritual notion to continue to be inspired and continue to learn. And so, going back to your original question of how people are just, led by somebody else's thought or about a subject or something, that's not a part of her makeup. She's constantly looking to grow and to learn, and she does that
Right.
by investigating her own self of
Let
what
me jump in
things
here and
are.
answer this question, though, 24 minutes before I take a call for you, because it's interesting you're
Okay.
speaking about elders. We had
Yeah.
a guest on, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago. He actually was a former mayor of Compton, and there was this elder in the checkout in the supermarket, and these young sisters were about to jump her because she was moving so slow. She was doing the best she could at the time, and she was moving slow in the checkout line, and they were about to jump, and he says, "No, you're not going to jump her." He made up his mind. He was going to, he's going to intercede. And then the following day, we got a call from a listener, the Metro in Washington D.C. This elder checked these youngsters because they're using profanity on the bus, and they jumped her, and the bus driver didn't do anything, didn't stand up. What's happening with our young people here, Mama Ade? How you see? Are we missing something? Because you work with, you said from 8 to 90. What is happening to some of our young people? It's not all of them. So what do you think's gone wrong here?
A lot of my family are in healthcare, and they see these elders in these nursing homes, and how people just kind of throw them away, that they're useless. And that's not the case. I remember when I was about to be 50, and I was so depressed because I was going to be 50. And there was a woman who was in her 70s. And she said, "Girl, what is wrong with you?" She said, "You better fix your face." She said, "At 50, I wish I could go back to being 50. She said, "At 50, you are just now becoming a woman." She said, "At 50, you've lived a little bit, you've experienced a few things, and now your words have weight and meaning." And she really turned my whole notion, because I thought at 50 everything was going downhill. Well, when we are born, none of us are here to stay. So she really changed my notion of what being 50 was supposed to be about. She said, "That's your finger popping time." And so I changed my whole notion of what 50 is. Now I'm getting ready to hit a big number, 7. And here again, God puts someone in front of me to give me guidance. She puts Mom Daphne in front of me, who is 94 and still wants to learn and grow, and that just inspires me even more. So the African notion of how you treat elders. I'm a storyteller, so please forgive me. But I was in South Africa last year, and my room was downstairs at this very posh resort. And so I had to climb up these stairs, and from years and years and years of African dancing and dancing on concrete, my knees are not the best. And so I just take my time and get on up those stairs. And as I was leaving the restaurant and getting ready to go back down to my room, a young man approached me and he said, Mama, we have moved your room. We're going to put you on this level so that you don't have to go up and down the stairs. And I was, oh, no, that's okay. I don't want it. So he said, no, it's not a bother. It's not a problem. No problem. We're going to move you on this level. And I said, oh, my God, I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be a problem. And he said, Mama, in our culture, our elders are not supposed to struggle. And I just smiled. And I said, thank you. And I took the room. So it's a whole different notion of how you treat elders. We're not throwaway people. We've got a lot of wisdom to share, and a lot to still learn. So.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that story. That's a great story because it is different in African culture. The elders are revered. We got some folks who want to talk to you. Got some tweet questions for you, Mama Ade. First up, let's go to Miami. Brother Ray's calling us. He's on line 2. Brother Ray, you're on with Mama Ade. Is Brother Ray there on line 2?
I just want to thank you so much because our people need to hear Sister Mama Ade. We need to hear what she's saying. We started a drum call here in February of 2020. Our ancestors woke us early one morning and said drum, but we didn't understand what that meant. And so I made calls out to those brothers and sisters that I knew who drum. And the response was overwhelming. So we started drumming around the state, around the city, around the state of Florida. And this thing has now gone international. It's around the world. We had directions from our ancestors to drum at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. And it has taken off. And I just wanted to get your input, your feel on that. And we're using it as a spiritual awakening to our people, who we are. And what we must do. So I thank you so much for everything that you have said. It really reached the core of my understanding. Thank you so much. So I'd like to get your take on that.
All right. Thanks, Brother Ray. Mama Ade?
Yes. I teach drumming. I have a class of seniors on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I teach in after-school programs in various centers. We have a young people's drum group. I started with our first drum group called Omo Ilu, Children of the Drum. And we've traveled all over, and we drum, and I travel internationally teaching. I was in Tanzania last year, and just felt so incredibly blessed to be on the continent teaching drumming to Africans. Amazing to me. Amazing. So I do overstand and understand what you're talking about in terms of the drum and how important the drum is in awakening that spirit, the spirit of our ancestors. Our drum is the original voice. It's the voice of our ancestors. And when everybody resonates to the drum, every culture has the drum. The drum is the first instrument of the world. And when I teach about the drumming, I talk about how the drum is made of, I'm using djembe. So how it is, it actually speaks, it actually talks, it actually says words. And how if you came from Benin, you spoke Fon. If you came from Ghana, you spoke Twi. If depending on where you came from, what language you spoke, but everybody spoke drum. And how the drum is made of wood, and how they pray before they cut down the tree and ask the tree's permission to cut it down. And I ask, why do they do that? And people give various answers, and they say, well, maybe because it's a living thing. Absolutely. And as a living thing, it has a spirit. A tree does the same things that we do. It eats, it drinks, it moves, it recreates, and it breathes. It breathes in carbon dioxide, and it exhales oxygen. We inhale oxygen, and we exhale carbon dioxide. And so that's called the circle of life. And this drum is a sacred instrument. And so when we drum, it's an amazing and wonderful thing. It's the first thing you're introduced to in the world, because the first drum you hear is your mother's heartbeat, that heartbeat. And so I tell my kids, when the drum beats, booties get to shaking, because everybody resonates to that heartbeat of the drum. So I really, really applaud you in the drumming, and I say, continue on, my brother, continue on, because the ancestors speak through the drum.
All right, we got to take a short break here at 26 away from the top of the hour. Mama Ade is our guest. We've got to get caught up on the latest news, traffic, and weather in our different cities. Come back. We've got some tweet questions and some comments for Mama Ade. You want to join us? 800-450-7876. Your call's in 4 minutes on 1010 WOLB in Baltimore. In the DMV, we're on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power. Good morning, family. 20 minutes away from the top of the hour with our guest, Mama Ade. We'll get back to Mama Ade in a moment. Let me just remind you, coming up later, we're going to speak with Dr. Stephen Tate. He's a naturopathic doctor. He wants to tell us about sleep deprivation. He says it can cause a lot of health issues for us. And also, we're going to talk politics with the NAACP Maryland State Conference Chairman. That will be Willie Flowers. Tomorrow, Brother Zaki Baruti is the President General of the UAPO, the Universal African Peoples Organization. They're based in St. Louis, but they're really helping out the folks down in Jackson, Mississippi. So he's giving us an update on what's going on, because, people think that the situation is all solved now that the cameras have gone and all the news people have left. It hasn't. So he's going to give us an update. And also, futuristic researcher, Brother Siddiqui Bakari, will be here as well. So if you're in Baltimore, keep your radio locked right here on 1010 WOLB. If you're in the DMV, of course, we're on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power. Mama Ade, before I got a question for you from one of our tweeters. Okay. One of our tweeters said, "Good morning." He says, "I'm thankful for your guest this morning. She is encouraging me as an elder as well." So I just want to pass on that note from one of our listeners. But here's another tweet for you, Mama Ade. In terms of the spiritual dynamics, there has long been a suppression of women as leaders, even in historic churches. How have you navigated being installed in Benin and in the Ifa tradition?
The same way we were talking about the drumming. If I had listened to all of those voices that said women don't drum, you shouldn't put the drum between your legs. If I had listened to that, I wouldn't be teaching drumming the way that I do. Going to Ghana, going to the museums, and looking at the drums there, the ancient drums, they had breath. And I brought that and brought photos back to encourage the young women to not listen to those voices. Who is your first notion of what God is, what a preacher is, what a teacher is your mother. Is your mother. That's your very first notion. So the idea that a woman doesn't have a voice should not lead. When what does that say about my relationship to my mother? I never listened to those voices. I listened to the God in me. I listened to what the ancestors had to tell me, and I listened to my desire. When I was 7 years old, I wanted to be a spiritual person. I wanted to be able to teach. I wanted to be able to help other people. And I never deviated from that notion, from that calling, if you will. And so I do what the ancestors asked me to do. I can't speak for anybody else. I do what the vow I made to Spirit, and I said, "You can send me," and here I go. And so, people who want to garner whatever they perceive to be as power, they don't want to hear from all of these voices. I learned from children, so I pay attention. I don't denigrate this just because it came out of a child's mouth. It seems to me there was a verse that said, "And the children shall lead them." So I do what God asked me to do.
All right. 15 away from the top there, I got another tweet question for you, and this goes back to the movie. The tweeter says, do you think all black people, especially women, need to see the movie? And the movie, of course, they're referring to is the Woman King.
Oh, absolutely. For the longest time, I refused to see the movie The Birth of a Nation because I knew it was going to make me mad. I knew just from hearing about it that it was something that was going to wrench me in my gut. And so for the longest time, I refused to see it. But then my second nature said, how are you going to form an opinion and you haven't even seen it? And so I did go and see the movie at one point in my life. And, of course, it did all that I thought it would do, but I was informed at that point. Now it wasn't just something that somebody said. Now I can speak intelligently on the subject for myself and for my own opinions. And so I think, go see it's a movie. It's not supposed to be a documentary. It's a movie. So, yes, absolutely. Go see the movie. I loved the movie. I loved it.
One of 14 away from the top there, one of the things I found out, the detractors who are telling people not to see the movie, they seem angry. And and I'm trying to figure out where this anger is coming from. And they also claim that because the movie was written by a white person, we shouldn't see the movie. But then they drive a car. This was made by a white person. They sleep in a house. So
exactly.
And this is where we need critical thinking. But they throw out everything and just say, "Oh, because a white person wrote it, we shouldn't go see the movie." Well, what else are we going to do that white people have? If you, and this is the thing, and let me get another plug for Neely Fuller. That's why Neely Fuller tells us we got to stay on code, and that's why he talks about how much control that white folks have over us. But the people, the detractors, and I want you to comment on this. We're telling people not to see the movie. They seem so very angry. Why?
Yes. Well, I have no idea. Well, one of the things is the notion that women can be powerful. I heard a gentleman say, there ain't no way, he used some expletives, there ain't no way that some woman can kick a man's behind. Oh, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. These women are real. The history of Manon, the non-mitan in Benin is real. They exist. I said exist, not existed. They exist to today. And so inform yourself. Learn something. Educate yourself. Travel is one of the best educations you could possibly have. So as I travel, no one can make me ashamed because I'm a dark-skinned African woman. No one can make me shame of my color. You can't make me shame about these lips or my nose or these hips, because I have educated myself. I know who I am, and I know whose I am. So I've heard somebody say, oh, well, she's so comfortable in her own skin. Yeah. That just seems so funny to me that I shouldn't be comfortable in the texture of my hair, in my full lips, when other folks are trying to get this in the color of my skin. So no, people would be angry. They would be angry. What did Maya Angelou say? Does my sexiness upset you? So anyway, I digress.
All right. Well, hold that thought right there. Got some more people want to talk to you. 10 minutes away from the top of the hour is with Mama Ade. Brother Hakeem's joining us. He's in Baltimore. He's also online too. Brother Hakeem, you're on with Mama Ade.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings to you, Mama Ade. It's good to hear you.
It's good to hear you.
Yes, it's great to hear you on the International Carl Nelson Show. I'm hoping that the listeners in Ghana enjoy it. Right, Carl?
That's right. We got a lot of listeners in Ghana. You know what, Key? We got more listeners in Nigeria. They just don't communicate with us. The Ghanaians do, though. But most of you looking on the track, and then most of the listeners, more listeners come from listening in Nigeria. But go ahead.
Wow! That's amazing. In Nigeria, they use those apps. That's for sure. But Mama Day, we certainly, Teaching Artists Institute. You're being a Thai elder. You've done the Tanzania tour. Came several times, and we certainly were excited about the Love Camp. I mean, and teaching, the relationships that the way you do with your experiences, and so, and even with this conversation, tapping into. The elders that are listening, you being a little over 40, years old, I'll just, in terms of what you are trying to put together with, encouraging elders. I mean, a lot of, and certainly a lot of elders are now able, to, experience the continent of Africa. What would you say, even, with what you're trying to do with your elders conference, retreat, shall I say, encouraging elders to come and what things they should be looking for to do and experience out of life, and teaching young people. So thank you. I'll just take it off there. And thank you. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Well, thank you for that. Bringing me
and I'm
back
on my way to Kenya. And I'm on my way to Kenya, Mama Day.
So, I'm so jealous. I want to go.
We'll see you soon. Thank you. I call.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
All right.
But yes, again, inspired by Mom Daphne, certain things were coming across my desk. All of these internships for young people and scholarships for young people, and I have to raise money and struggle to do certain things. And I teach the youth, so there's no qualm about that. But what is there for the elders? What is there for the seniors? And again, inspired by Mom Daphne and her willingness to learn, we at the Teaching Artists Institute, again under the direction of Kim Poole, who is an amazing young woman, we got to talking about that. And she said, well, why don't you put something together? And so we came up with the Elders Legacy Tour that we will be doing next October, coming off of the Love Camp that we did, and putting together. Because a lot of times people have not traveled. When working with this group of women in the Sheroes, I found that certain things people have not been able to do in their lifetime, and I wanted to give them experiences. And so for some of these elders, Mom Daphne herself said that she wanted to go. She wants to go. And so we're going to make a way for Mom Daphne at 94 because she has never been to the continent of Africa. And
hold that thought right there, Mama Ade.
Yes.
We got to take a short break here. We got to check the traffic and weather for our commuters on this hump day.
Sure.
6 minutes away from the top of the hour, folks. Dr. Tate is also on deck. We'll get to him in 4 minutes right here on 1010 WOLB in Baltimore. In the DMV, we're on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power. And good morning again, family. A minute after the top of the hour, our guest, Mama Ade, Dr. Stephen Tate, naturopathic doctor, is on deck. We'll get to him momentarily. Interest of time, though, Mama Ade, Wes is calling from Atlanta, and he's got a comment or a question for you. Wes is on line 2. Wes, you're on with Mama Ade.
Yes, ma'am, my sister, Yehuda. Yes, ma'am. I just want to apologize for food like, I'm sorry, God, like, what her name? Uncle Clarence sitting there while that sister standing up, man. He can't get out the chair. I'm sorry, man. Especially what he did to Nita Hill. And he can't get his rusty behind out that chair and let that lady sit down. I'm going to chill out, Carl. I'll check your party, man, before I start saying some exploratory language. I love y'all, man. I apologize for that food, man. Get it grinning.
All right, Wes in the ATL. Apologizing for Clarence Thomas. But again, the elder, before I let you go, Mama Ade, the treatment, because we addicted to white. This is another one of our prolific guests that talks about too. That many of us are addicted to white. That's why we treat our elders with such disdain. We treat them like how white folks treat their elders. They put them in homes, but they don't do that on the continent. Can you address that real quick?
Yes. As I was talking to you earlier about how that young man treated me, that's how I'm treated everywhere I go on the continent. Whether they know you or they don't know you, everyone calls you Mama. And they defer to you. They defer to that gray hair that's in your head. And so it's a whole different way of looking at things. I taught in 3 of the universities when I was in Tanzania, in Arusha and Bagamoyo at the universities. And these young students would not let me get off of the bus without, Mama, how can I help you? Let me carry this for you. And I'm saying, no, it's okay. And they take it off of my shoulder. They want to relieve my burden. And they help me up the stairs. And their thirst for knowledge was so refreshing. They want to learn. They sit on the edge of their seat and they listen And so the whole notion of how you treat an elder is so refreshing and so wonderful. That's why we are creating this Elders Legacy Tour to go to Tanzania. I want some of these elders to experience some of the things that I've experienced as I've traveled. To see Mount Kilimanjaro is, just to look at that mountain and the waterfall there, to go to Stone City, historical city in Zanzibar, to travel to Zanzibar, to go to the spice farm. I remember walking, and the guy pulled up a snatch of grass, and he said, "What is this?" And to me, it looked like grass. And he rubbed it, and he said, "Smell." And I smelled it, and it was lemongrass. And how he pulled the bark off of a tree. He said, "What is this?" Again, it looks like the bark of a tree. And it was cinnamon. And all of these spices from just the plants. I will never look at a blade of grass the same, having had that experience. And I know that a lot of elders have not had these. To go to see the Maasai warriors, to go to the villages and see the Maasai warriors and the dignity that they display. A lot of the hotels use the Maasai warriors as security. I remember going into a five-star hotel, and the president of Tanzania was there visiting, and she had all of her soldiers were there, and they had the guns. But who was on the inside was a Maasai warrior standing strong. Just amazing, amazing. So we really want the elders to have some of these experiences and to be treated the way that we've been treated every time that we travel with the Teaching Artists Institute.
All right. So how can they reach you, Mama Ade, for folks who are interested in making that journey?
Well, they can look online for the Teaching Artists Institute, Kim Poole, Brother Haki, and get the information online. There's tons of information right there, and sign up. Sign up, Teaching Artists Institute.
All right. Thank you, Mama Ade. Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.